Hi, this is Miss Diorama. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will show you how I made this miniature fairy tale house in a mushroom. It all began with a sauce jar. The label was removed and the jar was cleaned. Naturally, I began with the base. For this, 8 circles were cut from cardboard in increasing sizes. These were then glued together with hot glue. Then it was time to make the front doorway. I gathered all the parts that I needed. These were laser cut from 1.5mm matboard and cardstock. PVA glue is applied to the doorway arch. A strip of cardboard is attached over the glue. A jewellery head pin will become the doorknob. Now to attach the door. The piece is filed where necessary to neaten the edges. The entrance side walls can now be attached. Finally, the entry threshold is attached. The roof will be attached after the glue has dried on this piece. Meanwhile, the windows can now be assembled. I will be making a total of 3 windows. First, the frames are assembled. Followed by dormer sides. And then the window sills. Before the entry roof can be attached, the tops of the walls need to be filed off at an angle. The dormer walls also need to be filed off at an angle before the roofs are attached. The windows and the front entrance are now ready to be installed into the diorama. I'll come back to them later. Now for the lights. I will be using a USB powered LED light string. This string of LED lights came with some pink plastic flowers, which, although nice, I didn't want to keep for this project, so I simply removed the flowers. The lights are now ready to be installed into the diorama. Then it was time to make a mushroom. I thought I'd make this mushroom hollow so that it can glow from the inside. That's the top done. Now to construct the stem. The stem is also hollow to allow the light wires to pass through it. The top and the stem will eventually be glued together. First, PVA glue is applied, and once dry will form a kind of seal to protect the cardboard. Much later, the parts are dry and ready to be assembled. I'll come back to this a bit later. But first I needed to cut some foam for my diorama base. This is the Proxxon Thermocut Angle Fence TA300. It allows the user to make precise production of geometric solids. It can be adjusted from 0 through to 90 degrees for high accuracy angled cutting. This angle fence was made to be used in conjunction with the Proxxon Thermocut 230E hot wire cutting table. These are the 2 foam rectangles I cut. In addition to these, I needed a way to cut a circular shape as well. After consulting the manual for the Thermocut 230E, I quickly discovered that in regard to cutting circles, Proxxon didn't offer an attachment for making cylinders or circular shapes. By the way, that has changed, and I'll talk about that shortly. But first, I'll quote from the manual that comes with the Thermocut 230E hot wire cutter. It says, you can make a simple device yourself for cutting circular segments. Fix a drawing pin at the center of the required circle on the working table with a piece of tape. Fix the workpiece onto the pin and turn the workpiece around the pin. I wasn't so sure if I could stick a drawing pin to the working table and actually have it remain there while I was to cut a circle out of the foam. So I took to other creators on YouTube and found a few good ideas for making my own circle jig for the Proxxon Thermocut. This is what I came up with. This circle jig that I made for the Thermocut will allow me to cut circular shapes out of foam up to 420mm in diameter. It works by staking a piece of foam onto the bamboo skewer. The cutting wire sits 10mm or 1cm away from the skewer. This bold line marks the radius of the circle. By lining up 10mm or 1cm with this bold line, you'll make a circle that's 2cm in diameter on this jig. The bamboo skewer marks the center of the circle that will be cut from the foam. I wanted a circle that was 70mm in diameter, so I lined up the jig markings with the bold line at 35mm. Then I simply turn the piece of foam on the skewer that is acting as the center axis of the circle. I make sure to turn off the power to the cutting wire to enable me to easily remove the foam from the jig. As I mentioned earlier, Proxxon hadn't offered an attachment for making cylinders or circular shapes. That is, up until very recently. New out is this attachment, which cuts cylindrical shapes and circles out of foam. Like everything Proxxon produces, this attachment is great quality. It enables you to cut cylinders and cylindrical shapes from foam. It also comes with a helpful manual. This is a fixed guide that keeps the upright piece in the table groove. These notches keep the guesswork out of where this guide should sit. 2 grubber screws hold it permanently in place. The rotary action of the foam grips makes for comfortable operation. The design incorporates stepless, tool-free height adjustment. Now it was time to put it to the test. I marked the center of this piece of foam and fitted the foam onto the cutter. To be able to achieve perfect cylinders, it's important to make sure the cutting wire is 90 degrees to the cutting table. Otherwise, you'll get a tapered cylinder like this one. This was attempt number 2 at making a cylinder. This time I made sure the cutting wire was perpendicular to the cutting table. I also turned down the power, thus decreasing the heat level of the cutting wire. On a final attempt, I turned the power all the way down to avoid the vertical grooves made as a result of the wire being too hot. Then I decided to make an angled cylinder with the first shape that I'd cut. To make an angled cylinder, the angle of the cutting wire needs to be adjusted. Overall, I think this TKS 360 circle cutter delivers what it promises. In conclusion, I think this would take quite a bit of practice to get the perfect shape you require, but overall this tool truly does make the job easy. Then it was time to cut some foam for the diorama base. Once again, I'm using the Proxxon Thermocut Angle Fence TA300 in conjunction with the Thermocut 230E. The rest of the cuts were made using my Proxxon Thermocut 12E handheld hot wire cutter. If you haven't already, go check out the Proxxon website. They have a huge range of quality tools that make life easier for hobbyists. I'll leave a link to the website in the description. I removed some of the cardboard to make way for the bottle and the lights. I also removed some of the cardboard to make way for the battery pack. Everything is finally starting to come together. By the way, I sprayed the bottle with a clear matte spray paint so that the jar contents can't be seen through the windows. Now it was time to assemble the diorama. often get asked what the white stuff is that I'm applying to some of my dioramas. This is my version of Sculptamold. I make it using PVA, builder's plaster and toilet paper. In case you're interested, I made a video where I demonstrate how I make this mixture. Be sure to check that video out. The link will be in the description. I developed this mix specifically because it doesn't crack as it dries. It is extremely easy to mold landscapes with it, and it's extremely hard and durable once dry. I'm using the plaster mix I made earlier to coat the hollow mushroom. I'm making some smaller mushrooms using these pieces of bamboo skewer, hot glue and an LED light. Several LEDs are threaded through this hollow mushroom stem. Hot glue is used to secure the lights in place inside the mushroom cap. Then a new paper cover is glued in place to replace the one I removed. Hot glue is used to add gills under the mushroom cap. Then the mushroom receives a coating of hot glue. The plaster mix is smoothed onto the jar in several thin layers. Each layer is allowed to dry before the next coat is applied. A paintbrush or a palette knife can be used to do this. The process may seem tedious, however, it creates a durable textured coating over the surface of the walls. It was time for the roof. 2 cardboard circles will be used to make the roof. The lower roof is glued on, followed by the upper roof. I'm using hot glue to add a bark texture to the exterior walls. Now back to the roof. Scrunched up foil makes a good sculpting medium. I'm using it to form up a mushroom-shaped roof. I am masking the foiled roof structure with tape, over which I will apply some more of the plaster mix. Again, hot glue is used to add gills under the mushroom cap. Before I paint, a layer of the plaster mix is added over the dried glue. The plaster mix will act as a primer, assisting the paint to properly adhere to the dried glue. A piece of EVA foam was used to cover the battery compartment. It was finally time to paint the diorama. I began by applying raw umber acrylic paint. applied Mars black paint to the pathway and the front steps. Then I applied a dark wash over the majority of the painted areas. Then I applied some deep green paint in areas over which I will later add some static grass. I applied a neutral grey colour to the stone pathway and steps. Then oxide yellow was applied to the underside of the roof surfaces. Cadmium red was applied to the mushrooms as well as to highlight the underside of the roof surfaces. Burnt umber was then brushed over the bark surfaces. The whole piece was then given another dark wash, followed with some dry brushing, first with neutral grey. Then oxide yellow. Followed by sand. Then it was time to add some static grass to the diorama. I taped up the doors and windows before applying some craft glue to the areas I wanted to add grass. Finally, it was time to add a few finishing touches to the diorama. White spots were added to the mushrooms. This is fine turf from Woodland Scenics. I'm using it to represent moss. Moss was added to the steps. And between the stepping stones of the path. The fairy tale house in a mushroom is now complete. Be sure to stick around for a little while longer to watch the slideshow I put together of the finished diorama. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. And thanks for watching. See you next time.